Today I'm focusing on Bob Iger, and I suspect many of you know who he is. Just recently, he made a surprise return as Disney's CEO. He's there to clean up the mess that his successor, Bob Chapek, recently made. So Chapek was seen as lacking in, guess what? Soft skills, including negotiation, in ways that caused all sorts of friction within the company. And so, to the great surprise of many, Bob Iger, the longtime CEO of Disney, was lured back to Disney to really save the company. And reports are he'll get paid just $1 million for this role, but there's another $24 million on the line if he hits certain benchmarks. Bob Iger is a great negotiator for so many reasons. Under Iger's leadership, Disney spent nearly $100 billion to acquire animation giant Pixar in 2006. They also acquired superhero comic franchise Marvel in 2009, and in 2012 they acquired the Star Wars franchise from Lucasfilm. Then in 2019, Disney acquired 20th Century Fox from Rupert Murdoch. Now there's actually talk that Iger is considering selling Disney to Apple. Now that would be a mega deal. So what makes Iger such an iconic negotiator? We could go on and on about this, but I want to talk about 3 key negotiation traits that he brings to his interactions that make him worthy of being in this pantheon of great negotiators. The first of these is being clear about your goals. So one of the things Iger is known for is setting long-term goals, being direct about them, and being persistent about them. And he has done this his entire life. In fact, Iger actually started at Disney many years ago in a very junior role. He worked his way all the way up to be the CEO. And even as the CEO, he was known to wake up at 4 a.m. and be an incredibly hard worker. With respect to his negotiations, very early on when he joined the Disney company, he said that he actually wanted to acquire Pixar, even though there had been a poisonous relationship between Steve Jobs, who created the Pixar company, and the former CEO of Disney, who was Michael Eisner. And so when Iger makes this decision to acquire Pixar, he's very clear. He knows that Disney's animation division is in trouble. And he knows that there's 2 ways of saving it, right? One is to rebuild it internally. The other is to acquire Pixar. And so he's not discreet about this goal, right? He makes it very clear. And so good negotiators always set goals, they're ambitious, and then they work persistently and tenaciously to achieve them. The second key attribute of Iger, and this one will not surprise you, is that he's incredibly good at building relationships. So he knows that soft skills really matter. It's not just about the substantive deal terms. In fact, in 2019, the New York Times described Bob Iger as, quote, Hollywood's nicest CEO. David Geffen said that he has never heard any person say any negative thing about Bob Iger, nor has he ever heard Bob Iger say negative things about other people. And in fact, Iger is known for working with people who are actually tough to work with and building very strong relationships with them. The reality is that the entertainment industry is occupied by CEOs with, frankly, enormous egos. Nonetheless, Iger is able to charm Steve Jobs in order to acquire Pixar. And listen, Steve Jobs did not come into this negotiation in a neutral way. He felt incredibly acrimoniously toward Disney because of the poisonous relationship that he had with Michael Eisner when Eisner headed up Disney. Similarly, Iger wooed a wary and reclusive Ike Perlmutter to acquire the Marvel franchise. And he persuaded George Lucas to sell the Star Wars franchise to Disney at an amount that was lower than what Disney paid for Pixar. In each of these situations, reports are that one of the things that Iger was so good at was putting aside his own ego, really focusing on the deal terms, but also demonstrating empathy and showing that he was a good listener. So let me give you one example. Apparently, one of the ways that Steve Jobs was really hesitant about selling Pixar to Disney was that he felt that Disney was so much bigger a company that Pixar's unique culture would just get eaten alive by the bigger company. One of the things Iger was able to do was assure Jobs that he would work hard to preserve Pixar's unique culture, a culture that was obviously highly successful by dint of all of the amazing films that Pixar produced. Lastly, and this is so key for great negotiators, is that Bob Iger is the picture of integrity and authenticity. So one of the things that is reported about him is that he leads by example, meaning he says what he means what he says, and then he lives it in the way that he treats those he works with, both internally at the Disney company and externally. So one of Iger's lines is, "Don't fake anything." And in my mind, that's another way of really thinking about being vulnerable. So he's not afraid to talk about weaknesses, vulnerabilities, faults. And when he does that, he comes across as authentic. And authenticity is such a rare trait to see in leadership and negotiation these days. And I think it's one of the reasons why under his leadership, Disney was so successful and why the board invited him back to lead once again. So I am so curious to see the path that Iger will take to help Disney in the next year or so. We may well be talking about on this channel an acquisition of Disney by Apple. But even if we're not, I'm sure we're going to be talking about some really great negotiation moves. And even if we're not, I'm sure we're going to continue to hear about great negotiation stories brought to you by Bob Iger. So to recap, 3 key qualities that Bob Iger has that make him a great negotiator. 1, being very clear and forthright about your goals. This is marked by consistency and hard work. 2, remembering the importance of soft skills, focusing on building relationships, on creativity, on empathy, and on putting aside your own ego. 3rd, demonstrating integrity and authenticity. Mean what you say what you mean, and make sure that the way you're acting is consistent with your talk. So I will continue this Great Negotiator series, and I hope you'll stay tuned to watch this next video, which is on Roger Fisher, a great negotiator and a personal mentor of mine. I'd be incredibly grateful if you would be sure to like this video before you go, put any comments you have into the comment box. If you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button and also ring the bell so that you get continued notifications every time I drop a new video. Okay, you know you want to be great like Roger Fisher. Keep watching. Click, click.